All right, so I don't know what this is gonna be. I was just thinking about it as I was coming back upstairs, X, and it could honestly turn into a podcast with the topic that we have, but it's still more.
Podcast. We need podcasts.
We do. It's still more of a current event video, though. It all depends on how long this goes. If it goes like past 40 minutes, it's a podcast.
Let's do it.
But yeah, man. First of all, RIP DMX. This is what we're talking about. We just going to talk about death and how people react to that and how people handle that.
Well, first, bro, can we talk about the man's impact on your life, and then we can go to my life, and then we'll talk about that
Okay.
because we're not just gonna act like it's just Earl Simmons off the corner.
Okay. I'm not
This
gonna
is
lie.
Dark Man X.
DMX. You said Dark Man X. Oh man, I'm not gonna sit here and act like me or my peoples have been a big like DMX fan. You know, that's just not what we listen to. Not really what my parents listen to, but I've always been very aware of him and his influence, and he's had some songs that I've really messed with heavy, just even as a little kid. Like I'm trying to think of what it's called. This is one John with Eminem from the Cradle to the Grave soundtrack. Yeah, Go to Sleep. Like that John's crazy. Um, certain things like that, and just but me being a hip hop head like I am, I have nothing but respect for what he did for just music in general. He was huge and he was really unique in the way he rapped and his image. Real cool, the Rough Riders and everything. So it's all stuff that I appreciate. I don't think I draw any influence from that at this point in my life, but I acknowledge his legend status and I acknowledge his talent. And I may take a dive in, like a full dive into his music one day. But, just DMX is always just kind of cool. And that's the way that I looked at it. But I never really like got into the things that he was really doing. I did
Yeah,
feel bad for him though after a while. Like I remember watching that. You remember Ayana? Does that still come on?
yeah.
Yeah,
Ion will fix my life. That was my show. Well, my
yeah.
mom
Nah,
show that.
I remember watching that DMX episode and being like, yeah, nah, that's kind of messed up. I didn't feel like what they did on there to DMX was right.
Yeah, with
But
his son, that was the one with his son.
yeah, I
I
didn't
was
like
like,
that.
let the man talk.
Yeah, bro, it was just like it felt like he was trying to fight to have a say in a relationship that it takes two people to create. And I'm just like, come on, bro. Plus, the way that went about, and just me being a firm believer in unconditional love, the way his son went about that, or not having family issues being aired out, stuff like that, those are two things that just that episode completely went against for me. So yeah. But either way though, RIP. What do you got to say, X?
Oh, my fault. My fault. My fault. Bruh, it just so happened that I feel like my mic was on the whole time while I'm talking, but it's whatever. On the contrary to Alonzo's life, DMX has been like one of the biggest artists to my life. Not my favorite, but definitely like as far as personal connection to an artist, I think it's some of the farthest you can go with DMX and me personally. To give y'all a little background, my parents are from that Westchester County area, basically. And, my dad was born in Yonkers and he lived in Yonkers. And I got like super close family connections to DMX. So, but besides that, the music was just super prevalent in my life, if that's the word to use.
Or
Just,
reassuring?
yeah, very reoccurring from a very young age. And before I can even, truly knew who I was, DMX was there. So um, to not get too carried away, basically, he was just a big presence in my life from the music to the movie Belly. That's one of my favorite movies. And yeah, we
Like
just
like how Ti is for me. Like I feel like that's what it
yeah.
sounds like.
And personally, I love the music too. It's not just
Yeah.
the fact that it's been around, it's very good music too. So
Yeah.
R.I.P. DMX.
Yeah. Nah. And I want to use that to segue into the topic of the way that people react to death in general, but more so celebrity death. I feel like I wanna talk about that first. Um,
Pause, bro.
what's up?
But I don't know if the audience watches battle rap. But that Tay Rock meme where he threw the water bottle and it hit the dude, the police
Hilarious,
officer,
hilarious.
hilarious. And I was going to send it to you.
But I sent it to you first.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, nah,
But
hilarious.
anyway,
But
yeah, how people view death.
yeah, nah. So I guess I can just talk about I'll talk about me and my personal opinions or views on deaths or celebrity deaths first and foremost. So celebrity deaths are something that because the stature of the person, it always like goes too far one way or too far the other way. Like I feel like people, and don't get me wrong, because through the art you can have a real connection with somebody. Like I know I wouldn't be happy if J. Cole or Logic died today. Like those are my two favorite just musical artists in general, right? But there are certain people who just from the outside looking in, once again, I don't know these people's lives, nothing like that, who seem like they are trying to get sympathy based on the death of a person that they never met. You know, which once again, to be fair to certain people, people may play a huge part in your life, and you know, it's not like I know them personally. So hey, if that's the way that they choose to channel that, go ahead, but that's just not something I do. On the contrary, though, the people who act like that person never meant anything to anybody or try and degrade that person in death, that's worse. That's way worse. And that I feel like that's both of those are things that we saw a lot with XXX Tentacion when he died a few years ago. Especially the second one, like people saying like, yeah, woman beater, it's karma and stuff like that. And while I understand that, putting bad energy out into the world, you will get bad energy back, and sometimes it may come back in the form of death. I said that previously on a podcast about like King Von. But it's still one of those things where that doesn't take away the good that a person was doing or the good in a person. Like when somebody dies or passes away, you just got to look at them for who they are overall and what they did, and whether it
Yeah,
had an effect on you or not.
yeah,
What it did for everybody in their path that they carved. Like Michael Jackson is dead. I don't look at Michael Jackson like, yeah, he was the industry's puppet and he was forced to do this and that. No, those are things that I feel like are, if not realities, partially realities, partially true. Like he was manipulated, like he was, taken and used to create an illusion. But at the same time, no, we acknowledge Michael Jackson for the greatness, for the stuff that for what he did and how he inspired us. I know Michael Jackson is a huge inspiration for me. Dude is like the best musician ever, So it's one of those things where, you can look at somebody or you can look at Michael Jackson, like, oh, but those rape allegations. Ah, but he betrayed his people. He bleached his skin. Ah, but he did this. Ah, he was a puppet of the industry. Ah, he tried to create an illusion of black entertainment really being a way out instead of a way back into mental prison. But nah, you just gotta, you know, meet people where they at and acknowledge people for what they did and not what they could have did or not what they, could have done. So yeah, that's kind of my way of seeing celebrity death.
yeah.
And also the people who try and act like deaths mean more to them than they actually do, who try and fake about stuff like that or act like, fans or anything like that. That's just not cool.
Yeah.
Like, what's your reasoning? What's your reasoning, bro? It's
In
about
my opinion, you don't really have to say nothing at all.
yeah,
Nothing is better than saying, something. Hey,
If you don't feel a way about, somebody dying, then you don't gotta say nothing about it. Like for the most part, yo, like when people pass away, if it's a celebrity, I always when I say something, it usually has to do with them dying to gun violence. That's when I'm just like, yo, like, never really listened to his music about RIP, or never really, was into him as a person about RIP because nobody should go out that way.
yeah,
That's all that is. It's just like if you care, then you care. If you care about the person, then you can show that. If you care about, what they did, then you can show that. But if you don't care at all about anything surrounding that situation, then just don't force something out.
right.
So yeah, X, what is your take on just
Deaths. Man, I feel like different people have different impacts on people's lives. Like, I don't know who has a big impact on my life, celebrity wise that's alive. Um,
Kendrick Lamar? Is that safe to say?
Musically, but it's not like I'm the most invested in Kendrick as a person.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know. This is one for me, but Kanye West is just like a universal
yeah,
thing. So
but like if someone is just like for example, DMX, like he's helped a lot of people with his music, and that's just undeniable. Like X, he helped a lot of people with his music,
yeah,
and when people like that die, I instantly understand that sense of sadness and that sense of grief because it's just like in a weird way, a person that you never met is gone, and a lot of these people I've never. I feel like I've never connected to music this deep, but they could be like fathers to them or brothers or
yeah,
mentors to them
help
through the
them
music.
help them find a way.
Yeah, like help them through a hard time or something like that. And I understand and that could hurt. So as far as viewing death in a particular way, if if anything I just said prior to that, if that's not you, if you don't feel that way, then no, don't say nothing. I recommend you just let everybody else grieve and wait until it passes over because that's what happens with everybody's death.
Yeah,
Eventually, it'll
and
get to a point where just nobody talks about it anymore.
and also remember that comedy is comedy, but certain people do have different times where the world is accepting of those jokes. I'm not saying those jokes are right in any capacity, but I will say, yo, if you want to avoid getting canceled or avoid people being on you about stuff, don't make jokes about dead people, dead
Yeah,
celebrities, stuff like that. You know, like I would say at all, but what's it? People are people and they do what they do, and there are comedians who literally make livings off of doing stuff like that.
yeah,
Anybody can make a joke about Michael Jackson. I've made jokes about Michael Jackson, right? But there are certain people who just have certain times where it becomes quote unquote okay to the public. If you want to dodge all that criticism or strife or whatever you want to dodge, don't make your joke super early. Like
yeah,
Meek Mill wasn't even making a joke, he just made a bar about Kobe and people was freaking out.
yeah,
And understandably, that's still fresh in the minds of a lot of people, especially because Kobe Bryant touched a lot of people, including me and you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so yeah, even I looked at that sideways, and I'm not really one to take stuff like that and like run with it, but I looked at that sideways, like really Meek.
yeah,
So it's one of those things where be cautious or be wary of what you say to the scale that you're saying it,
yeah,
because it's not cool. I don't think it's cool to joke about dead people in general, but I also would say that watch the scale that you do it on if that's what you want to do, if you want to avoid all the trouble for that. So yeah. And then I guess we could use this to segue into the topic of like personal, how you would take a death of somebody that you would know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I think this is just my way of going about it is like I I wouldn't say I distract myself, but I give
uh,
myself a certain amount of time to grieve and all that, and then life goes back on. Life goes
yeah,
on. I have my time where I'll talk about it, and then I'll cry about it, and then I'll sleep on it, and then for the most part, I should be okay. Not
yeah,
saying that, not saying that it'll never come back, but those are issues, at least in my experience with hard deaths
yeah,
that that's been my process I've been able to do.
yeah,
One thing I will say, never try and take on a death on your own. It's not good at all. The moment of truth is you going to be dealing is you finally coming to terms with it. That's going to be on your own.
yeah,
But talk about it, because everybody should have somebody out there that you can share that energy with and that pain with, and they'll help you, disperse that and let it go easier. Like I had a recent hard family death. That was a hard thing. And something about me is that that's not what I want to put on my family members who are also going through the same thing as me. I'd rather be the shoulder to cry on when it comes to them. So what I did is I talked to, my two closest friends about it, which is X and Taryn, who we had on the podcast previously. And
I'm tearing my dog. Tried to call me earlier, but I was in some food, man. You know how that go, guys.
oh man,
Neighborhood crib, touch me, I'm knocking you out. Phone
that's
them, phone them, bro, them grave. 300, 600, 500.
it's
We
all
out.
okay. But yeah, nah, and I talked to the people that I needed to, or that I felt like I needed to talk to about it, and I
Yeah.
was there for the people that I needed to be there for.
Oh, and I just want to slip this in. Not patting myself on the back or using this to put myself in there as just like a good person, but have nah for real. Like I'm dead serious. Like
Yeah, I got
bad timing, but it just reminded me to say this. Have good people around you.
yeah
Have genuine people that you can literally talk to.
about anything.
Be serious with. Cry with.
Yeah,
Like no judgment. Who understand.
yeah, definitely.
Are just totally there for you if you need anything. I think that's dope.
Yeah, that's how it.
Don't go through it alone. I don't think if you handle it that way, then maybe that's the way you handle it. But I
It just
think
doesn't seem healthy though, with that much
yeah,
weighing on your heart at one time.
yeah, have someone to vent to at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm gonna say this: if you don't have any outside friends and stuff like that, don't be afraid to lean on your family. Even if you don't want to, they will be there. That's bottom line. You know, there will be somebody that you can talk to in this world, whether it be somebody with no strings attached, who doesn't even know the person, maybe some random dude that you just meet and you break down and you sit down and you talk to him, or it could be your mom or your brother or your cousin. You know, it's
Like,
one of those things. So yeah, X, I'm not gonna ask you to disclose how how you deal with personal family deaths. That's something, if you want to talk about that, you can, but that's not something.
actually, I can, but thing was that I said the thing was um actually in my life, not ironically. Well, I was just about to say
I
ironically.
was about to say ironically. That's what I said.
Um, I haven't really dealt with like super close, like we used to kick it every day
Yeah,
deaths. Like that just wasn't a reoccurring thing in my life or something I had to deal with frequently or just deal with at all. I've had deaths that hurt me or people that died. It was like, dang, like I remember that one summer and we went here and they introduced me to him and he was just cool. Like those kind of deaths. But as far as like dang, that was really my dog. Like, nah.
yeah,
So I can't really tell anybody either way whether to any coping mechanisms or anything to do because I personally haven't dealt with it, but um, I think just having someone to talk to is great, and making learning a lesson out of it. As crazy as it sounds, and as
No,
bad as it may hurt.
that don't sound crazy at all to me. I didn't realize with the person with this recent death, I didn't realize what they were trying to teach me all along until they passed. And I really had to sit there and think about it. One thing I will say is that the greatest coping mechanism is facing it head on and dealing with it. That's my way of seeing that. Because my normal coping mechanisms are like writing or listening to music, or not listening to music, making music, or getting on the laptop and doing a podcast, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I did all three of those things and more. I even took a dip back, and like I was so stressed out that made me dip back into my unhealthy coping mechanisms, and none of them worked. None of them was able to take me away from how I was feeling at all. So
I'll tell you, bro, like the little amount of like close deaths that I have dealt with, the best thing I've done is just cry, bro.
yes.
Like literally, like
Yeah.
although I'm telling y'all to talk to people and find a shoulder to lean on, that's just if that works for you. That doesn't really work for me, to be completely, honest. What I like to do is get by myself while no one's around and just cry. Like
I think that's for all of us, but I feel like the part of talking to people and helping like soften the blow a little bit when it first happens, that's something that's very important. Because like I said, I took a dip into my unhealthy coping mechanisms that I left behind like years ago. Stuff like drinking. You know what I mean? Or in trying to distract myself, or like masturbating, stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's just like, well, if you can talk to somebody to get your head off of that, to get your mind off of that, and to soften the load on your heart in that moment, do that. I feel like that's a very important part of, at the very least, my process. But yeah, I agree with you in the sense that until I got on my own and cried about it until I had a headache, it wasn't feeling good. Once I did that, I felt like just a huge, just a huge relief. There's still ways of dealing with things that other people may have that I don't have. I don't like funeral. I know nobody likes a funeral, but like it's one of those things, I can't stand funerals.
Yeah.
Or at least funerals for people that I have really had a close connection with.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, we didn't have a funeral for this last one. We had a memorial or viewing. And after all the pictures went by, I like sat out in the cold for a while. And then came back in and sat away from everybody. That's just kind of my way of, that's when I choose to go about stuff like that alone, because it makes me energy, or I said energy, it makes me angry, and I don't want to pass that energy on to the people around me who are sitting here, trying to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so that would be my reason for doing things like walking out of a funeral. Like, it's just not to be rude or disrespectful to the life that I myself cherished a lot, but I don't want to sit here and start just have steam coming out of my ears while everybody's trying to celebrate a life. Like, nah, I refuse to let myself do that and drag down the energy of the room. So yeah. But hey, I feel like for the most part, that's pretty much all I got to say about this topic.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, great.
I said I agree.
I thought you said, all right, great. I was like, oh, X ready to go to sleep.
Nah. You're like, all right, great. That's the end of this podcast. Like, nah.
Like, all right, great. Like, I'm going to bed, nigga. But yeah.
But all right, I got a good topic for us to talk about.
Okay.
Bro, who is one of these artists that you think is just I know underrated is used too much. But who do you think is underrated and needs some more attention?
Um, I don't really have one. I feel like I don't really. Yeah, you mean like an artist who's out now?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't really have one who's underrated. Granted, I'm not super in tune with current music that's coming out. I'm just
yeah,
waiting. I'm waiting for my favorites to drop. I'm waiting for Loot to drop. I'm waiting for Jid to drop. I'm waiting for Joey Badass to drop. You know, stuff like that. Like I'm waiting for my guys.
yeah.
But for the most part, I guess if I had to say anybody who's underrated out of those who I just named, it would be Loot, which I've played plenty of Loot for you before. Yo. I love like it's so authentic and it's so like raw and real and just the stuff that he be saying. Like it hits different in the way that he be doing it. So I Luda is somebody that I feel like there should be more eyes on. Definitely. What about you?
Man, I have to say Benny the Butcher, man. Like he just says stuff that makes me just like get the craziest stink face. Like I remember I was listening to the his BET freestyle and he said, "What do I look like popping gold bottles and partying where I'm from a city where they starving and like Somalians?" I'm like, yo,
I don't honestly
like,
I don't see Manny the Butcher as underrated. I
bro, he
like
like, have you ever been like not been because I haven't, but have you ever seen Somalians, bro?
yeah.
You're hungry, bro.
That's messed up, man. That's messed up.
We're not laughing at the hunger, but
No,
I like
I
stuff
got
like
you.
that.
Yeah, no,
It's
I'm
real
saying
live.
I get what you're talking about.
Like
Um
Somalians, like they hungry.
Yeah.
They not
I don't
eating.
know. I don't see Benny the Butcher's album, or not
They're
Benny
on the
the
water
album.
diet.
I don't see like Benny the Butcher is underrated. If anybody was underrated, from Griselda, I'd probably say Conway. But
Yeah,
I feel like I hear people talk about Benny the Butcher in every like fairly often, and whenever I
yeah,
hear about it, it's praise, which I feel like is deserved
yeah,
because the little bit of Benny the Butcher that I've heard has been hard,
yeah,
you know. And I know Freddie Gibbs and Griselda, but I always lump those three in together. I
yeah.
feel like in terms of like the boom bapish or just the lyrical rap, they were the ones that was holding it down for the most part. Of course, you had your Logics and your Nas's who just won a Grammy or whatever, but still, you know, for the most part, like that's where I remember most of the eyes being in terms of like the lyrical stuff this year. So or last year, I mean. So, you know, I'd say out of those three, Conway seems like the one who definitely gets the least amount of attention.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
I got another one, bro.
okay.
And I texted you this the other day when I was in Virginia
Dirk,
out of impulse, bro. That was a little impulsive of me to say,
Dirk, you talking about Dirk?
but I still agree, bro. Like
Oh,
I still feel the same way, but it was a little impulsive now that I go back and realize what I said. I said that Dirk is the best feature artist of this generation. And before people start going crazy, featured artists, what I mean by that is like, I don't know,
or
like
do
I
they
feel like
best
it's
working features? That's
who do they best work in features?
yeah, that's what I consider a feature
Oh,
artist. Like
nah,
me,
nah, 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 bro. Don't play Dirk, bro.
I'm not
No,
playing Dirk. That's just my definition of a feature artist. Like that's what I like. Two Chains is a feature
nah.
artist to me.
Ty Dolla Signs is a feature artist, bro.
Okay.
Come on, bro. If we're going by that definition, I mean,
Yeah, so that's what I'm
what
saying.
I meant by a feature artist is like who have the best features is what I mean. I
Okay.
mean who when it comes to them on the song or the feature, they do their job and get out the way.
So like a Lil Wayne or a Drake for their time.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. And why I said he's the best feature artist of this generation is because he understands the assignment, bro. Like nobody I've ever heard, at least in this generation. Like Lil Durk, like you often hear other rappers, you'll often hear rappers like be on a feature and they'll take over the whole song or they'll change how the song sounds.
Yeah.
Dirk is like, nah, cool. This is your wave. I'm gonna hop on your wave. I'm on your song. Embody it. like in his own way, bro. I love it.
Mm.
Like he did it. I can name several occasions. He did it on. There's this one song called "Get High," weed song on a Young Thug's album with Snoop Dogg on it,
Mm.
and he just like he had like a little verse on it. He still went crazy on
Mm.
it. So
You know, I'm not really hip to Lil Durk. We talked about it on the podcast, I'm sure, before. I'm not like a Lil Durk fan. Like, that's not what I consider myself. I don't really find him super interesting. What I will say is that I have not found a bad feature from him. But what I also will say is there's nothing that has blown me away. No Auto is pretty hard, though.
yeah, but I was thinking about making a compilation because a lot of people haven't heard a lot of his features, bro.
Yeah. Once again, but also my opinion of Lil Durk is kind of just like I think he's good and he has the capacity to do some real hard stuff, but it never really delivers for me fully. Definitely not bad at all. But yeah, to be fair, Lil I can understand because I see that a lot of people love Lil Durk's features. Feels like every single time he drops a feature, there's a new meme about it. You know, so honestly, I don't really. What do we consider this generation that Lil Durk is a part of? Because Lil Durk's been around for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, and technically, if you're going by the most like literal definition, he wouldn't be a part of this generation. But I just mean people who are popping, like
Like right
because
now.
Lil Durk wasn't at his peak like his whole career. I
Yeah.
feel like people don't realize that he
Oh,
was.
not. But I remember Lil Durk having some songs that was like
Yeah,
definitely shaking some a little bit, like back in like 2013,
yeah.
2014.
I
Like
feel like Dirk is at his peak now. He's like one of the top rappers now. Like he was doing his thing back then, but he wasn't considered like one of the top dudes.
yeah,
So I feel like by saying this generation, it lumps him in
yeah,
for his peak.
that's fair.
So by his generation, Lil Durk, Lil Baby, NBA YoungBoy,
Mm.
um, who else is popping?
Uzi, Uzi would be considered.
Uzi, the Baby,
Yeah,
Polo G.
Polo G.
So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's why I said the best out of this generation.
Features. Man.
And I'm still sticking to my guns about Polo G sounding the same on most of his music. I'm still sticking to it, bro.
I know he dropped a new song, but I haven't listened to it. But you know how much I mess with Polo G though. His first two albums was, well,
Dope.
his first album specifically was hard. I
Yeah,
don't care what nobody says. And the second album was good, but it wasn't great.
it was all right. This new song, dope, but sticks to the same cadence every bar throughout the
Mhm.
whole song.
Yeah.
So
I'd
whole song.
I'd rather listen to that than Lil Baby, bro. And that's just all the strength of Lil Baby being around longer than Polo G though.
Yeah.
Because when I first heard Lil Baby, well, I thought he was trash, but after a while, when I warmed up to it, I was like, "Whoa, like this is crazy." And now I'm just like, "All right, bro," but like,
Nah, Lil Baby's better than Polo G in my opinion, bro.
mm,
Bruh, people don't realize because he has so much music out, bro.
yeah,
And that's why I understand where people come from, where they'll put Polo G over Lil Baby. But if someone like me who's listened to a lot of his music or a decent chunk of his catalog out of his large catalog, you gotta understand, bro.
I
It's definitely Lil Baby.
I've heard like stuff from every era of Lil Baby, and I think like Lil Baby around the time of like what is it, 2018, 2019, I'd say that was my favorite. That was hard, like drip harder era. And
Yeah,
I think that, in my opinion, that's the best Lil Baby that I've heard. Granted, I know you've listened to more than me because that's just not the type of music that I get into. And I definitely take Polo G at his best over that, which is first album Polo G. No, I don't know. But also, Polo G has a style that I feel like reaches me more. Lil Baby has a way about going and stuff where it's like about going about his stuff where it's sometimes, maybe I'm meant to catch something or feel something, but I don't really get it. Polo G style is a lot more catered to feeling something emotionally, or at least at that time. Like Finer Things, like that's a song that is meant to pull at your heartstrings in some
Yeah.
kind of way. So yeah, nah.
And also, I think that's small. But anyway, the thing about Polo G that I could see someone saying Polo G is better than Lil Baby is that Polo G at his worst is better than Lil Baby at his worst. I think. Like
I agree.
like Lil Baby at his worst is basically like just rapping machine gun fire, and I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And he does it throughout the whole song. Polo G at his worst is just keeping the same cadence the whole way through, and it's starting to become a little boring.
But there are
So
songs where he can do that though, and they still be hard. Like I love Heartless. He ain't switched his
yeah,
flow like one time on there, but Heartless is crazy. So, eh, but yeah, nah. Honestly, in terms of artists who are underrated, just to loop back to that, I really don't have any. Like I have to. It's like a difference. But when I think of underrated, I'm just like, okay, well, who is like kind of out here but still not getting enough credit? So I feel like
yeah.
when I think of underrated, if I really wanted to do that, I would have to reach and go too low,
Yeah.
like the totem pole.
Like what I can say is someone being underrated, like clearly underrated, doesn't bother me as much as someone who is overrated and being pushed on.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I don't know. You follow with these rap pages, so you might know this dude Sofago, or whatever his name is.
seen his name once or
They
twice.
keep wanting me to listen to him, bro. In every little snippet I hear is but like no.
Oh my god.
He's like, he up next. He up next. Why y'all hating? Why don't y'all want him to succeed? Like, no, it's not good. He sounds like Playboy Cardi, just
Oh,
not Playboy Cardi, bro.
oh yeah, I can't.
Like he sounds like 2016 Playboy Cardi. Like, come on, bro.
Man, this is one thing I'm gonna say, bro. People need to stop trying to rap like Playboy Cardi. Playboy Cardi is the only one who can do it. I'm very critical of Playboy Cardi, but I will say he's the only one who can rap in that way,
Yeah.
and me enjoy it to a certain extent. And so while I do trash on him for really not having much skill, that right there is a skill. That's an attribute. Being able to use your style to its maximum potential.
Yeah.
So, hey, stop trying to rap like Playboy Cardi. It never works.
Yeah.
And
And for if anybody's listening from these pages, I'm not listening to Sofago. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not going to. I'm not licking it. His name is just bad.
oh,
Sofago.
that's like a rapper being named RC Cola.
Like, go on, bro. Y'all want me to listen to Fanta, bro.
Oh, Lil Fanta. Young
Come
Mellow
on, bro.
Yellow.
Young, because I'm balling like a mellow.
Lil Dr. Thunder.
Oh, Dr. Pepper.
I like how I'm naming all the bootleg sodas.
Bro, bootleg sodas used to be so bad. That's all they used to give us at school dances. I don't know if you've had that same experiences, but
Nah, bootleg sodas is just what we used to have in the crib. Like I remember drinking RC.
I don't. No, I used to be so mad. They used to be like, I used to go to a restaurant and be like, um, so what do you want? What do you want to drink? I'll take a Sprite. We don't have Sprite. We got Sierra Mist. Oh my God.
Yo, I never saw any difference in those sodas, and I still don't. I will still drink a Mellow Yellow like it's a Sprite, even though there is definitely a different taste. I'll say that. But if
I'm
it's a
not
lemon
drinking a
lime,
mellow yellow.
if it's a
What
lemon,
is that?
if it's a lemon lime soda, bro, it's all the same to me.
Oh, bro, like Sprite is that. Sprite is that.
Sprite is that. Oh man,
Bruh.
You know what I haven't had because root beer is a kind of a different thing. Any brand of root beer works for me.
I haven't tried. Actually, it's weird. I haven't tried any other brand of root beer than the what's that one?
Mug,
What'd you say?
mug. That's the one with the dog.
Yup, the brown one, whatever
Yeah,
brown one.
root beer. They cream soda go crazy. I love cream soda.
That's a fact.
Yeah, nah. Oh man, but yeah, I really
Uh,
don't. What's up? What you got? I felt like you was about to say something.
Listen, bro.
Okay.
When I tell you I'm making an all-out effort to make this a podcast and not a current event,
I
I'm
know.
fighting, bro.
Like,
I
like
am fighting.
I'm ready to end it. But if you got more to talk about, I can talk.
Nah, bro. So, actually, it's funny because we're in a group chat, right?
Yeah.
And so I like dang, how do I put this? It'd be like the simplest stuff, but I don't know how to put it. So me and my friend Lemire, shout out my dog Lemire from middle school, basically my main man from middle school. Um, we've been saying pause in the group chat because it's just something we would say normally. So we say it in the group chat anytime something questionable is said in the group chat. And our female friends I were in a group chat with, they started saying it. It's just like, okay, like when did this become your thing? So like, have you noticed when females like clearly take your lingo and run off with it,
And it doesn't work.
and it doesn't work?
Yeah, in middle school, I was like the catchphrase king. I haven't talked much about this, but like I'd always find some new shit to say, and it would be really stupid, but everybody would laugh at it. And so many people would take my stuff and just run it into the dirt. Yo,
Twizzler. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Twizzler.
that's the one. Like I remember Goodwill had like $2 Tuesdays, right? And we used to go in Goodwill on the $2 Tuesdays. And I made a joke about it at school. And the thing about this specific joke though is that not only was I doing it to death, I was saying it all the time, but then everybody around me started saying it all the time too. So it was just hell for the teachers that week.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I wasn't like that with catchphrases like you because I don't know what that is. That's some cat in the hat type stuff.
It's just random stuff that you say, like not a joke, like not joning on anybody or nothing. It's just something that you
Yeah,
randomly say, and it
yeah,
just caught on.
yeah. I used to be like that with slang, and it's clear when like stuff gets school wide because the teachers will be like, "What is this that everybody keeps saying? Is it like inappropriate or something?" Like, yup,
Oh man.
yeah. I just choked on my icebreakers for anybody that wanted.
That's the universe telling you to stop this podcast. Or whatever.
Nah, bro. I don't believe in the universe, bro.
Oh my
But
god.
anyway, bro. Speaking of which, I want to, not speaking of which, because we weren't really talking about nothing specific, but why don't they have Bojangles in other places other than the South?
I
I don't
don't
get it.
know, brother. The rest of the world is missing out, man. Bojangles is like Popeyes, but with a little more South on it.
The seasoning, man.
Yeah, like I mess with Bojangles heavy. Bojangles
Like,
so good. I don't put Bojangles over Popeyes, but I say Bojangles is fire.
that's difficult, man. That's the thing, though. I'm struggling to say I can put Bojangles over Popeyes because I don't. But the thing is, it's like, never mind. And I'm about to argue with myself. So look, let me show you how y'all win an argument, right? Say this with somebody else. This is somebody else's take, right? All right. So, but if I'm out of town, and there's a Bojangles right next to a Popeyes, I'm gonna get Bojangles. So how isn't it better than Popeyes? I'm about to get you, right?
Right.
It's more exclusive. So of course you're gonna get the Bojangles. You got Popeyes everywhere. So regardless if it's better or not, you're gonna get Bojangles. Boom.
Yeah.
That's how you beat somebody in an argument, guys.
It's just, I'm weak. That's how you devalue their point. It's just like, well, yeah, because you see it less, you're gonna gravitate towards it.
That's a fact.
Okay,
That's
that
that's
makes
art.
sense.
That's argument 101,
That's
guys.
that makes sense. Like I remember when I went to Texas and saw the Whataburger for the first time, and everybody was like, "Man, that's terrible." I'm like, "Well, let's go to Whataburger though."
That's a fact. They
Yeah,
say In and Out's not that good,
yeah,
but
but
guess
guess
but
what
guess
though?
what?
Everybody goes to In and Out.
Can't wait to go to LA so I can get In and Out.
Look, I went to LA and we ain't touching In and Out. Well, we was only in LA for like one day though.
Did y'all ever go to Roscoe's?
No, no.
That's how you
Well,
know I'm not. That's how you know I'm not West Coast savvy. It's probably not even near where y'all are at.
well, I was about to say we were in like we were
San
in
Dismo.
San Luis Obispo. Yeah, we was in like we was in a small white town. So the
San
only
Felismo Bismo.
they ain't even I swear they didn't even have many fast food places. They
They
had
didn't have
like
In and Out.
they had like Hardee's, which over there is called Carl's Jr.
It's called Carl's Jr. over here too, right?
No, I know it is Hardee's over here. I ain't never seen no Carl's Jr.
Bro, why isn't it like the same thing? Like, isn't it like
Yeah,
how?
yo, it's literally the exact same logo on
Wait,
every.
wait, isn't it how like Dunkin' Donuts is Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins type thing?
Nah, not that. It's literally
You
Carl's.
can't find it. You can never find a Baskin Robbins. I just hope if there's anybody out there stupid enough to be searching for Baskin Robbins, you won't find it. You're not gonna find it. Go to Dunkin' Donuts. Stupid.
Bruh, no. So Carl's Jr. is literally the exact same thing as Hardee's. Like if you were to look it up, same logo and everything, just instead of Hardee's, it says Carl's Jr.
Wait. So they're not like the
They're the
same person owns it, or is it two different
same
people?
person owns it, exact same restaurant, exact same branding. They just have different names in different places.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought it was like McDonald's and McDowell's. Yeah, we got McFlurries.
You're like, what, bro? Like, what's the difference?
We got a McDouble.
Yeah, Carl's Jr. and the Hardys are like the exact same thing.
Crazy. Like
Like,
Alfredo and pasta.
if you well, Alfredo's a sauce though, ain't
I don't know. In my house, Alfredo was a meal.
it? Alfredo, I'm pretty sure Alfredo is just a sauce that goes on the pasta
Oh, be
or a
for,
sauce.
for random. What is your thoughts on making up your bed? Now, some people are like it's mandatory, got to do it in the morning. Or are you one of those people that's just like I'm gonna mess it up anyway when I go to sleep? I'm not gonna make it up. Or does your mom make you make it up?
So my mom
Out of
doesn't
those three options.
make up my bed, but I was made like my mom and not even my mom. My parents made me make up my bed for so long in my life. It's just habit.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
she doesn't do it anymore.
she don't do it no
Type stuff.
more. But when I was a kid, when I was living with my dad, middle school, even into high school, whenever I'm over there and I sleep, it's like make up your bed. And it's just now it's gotten to the point where no matter what, whether I make up my bed when I first wake up or when it's the afternoon and I'm not doing anything, I will always make up my bed at least one time in a day. So
It would be like it was never a thing that was stressed in my house necessarily, but it would be like if a week goes by and every time my parents walk into my room, if it's not made up, it's like did I just go a whole week without seeing your bed at least made up?
yeah,
Make it up, bro. Like, but it was just never something that was stressed because I noticed everybody's like house morals is different.
yeah,
Like the stuff that people abide by in their house. Like certain people like really have like what do you call it? Like
like a
table manner rules in your house.
Uh,
I guess.
yeah,
Like headphones off, can't use your phone, get your elbows off the table.
yeah, yeah.
Like you gotta set the table, you gotta like stuff like that. Like we've never had like table manner rules in my house.
We had little stuff like me, like I move around. So I remember like rocking around in my chair. Like not like rocking the chair, but I move around in my chair and me not being able or not being allowed to like do that, or we was never allowed to bring our phones to the table. If we wanted to bring our phones, we'd have to like sneak them, stuff
Oh no,
like
that
that.
was never a rule in my house.
And also like how you have like the mats that you're supposed to eat over?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we had those, but whenever we sat to the table, we was always told to take them off and not eat over them.
What?
Yes.
What's the explanation behind that? Or y'all just did it because they said it?
I I think because they I think because they didn't want us to get the mats dirty beyond repair over time.
Well,
They didn't want to,
I thought the point was not to get the table dirty
yeah, that's what
for the mat.
well well yeah, but it was also a rule that we clean up the whole kitchen afterwards, do the dishes, wipe down the counter, wipe down the table.
All right.
So no matter what, that table ain't getting dirty. So it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well the mats are more in danger then, because those are harder
Yeah.
to clean than a wooden table.
All right. That's a fact. But like at my house, it was just it's the jungle.
Yo, what
Do
are the
what you
fridge
want.
rules? What was the fridge rules when you were a kid?
Age rules. Dang. And it's funny because a lot of this, well, all of it, what's wrong with me, is like basically like unwritten rules. Like probably. Let me think. Somebody used to get yelled at for like fridge rules. Fridge rules. Well, it's still like this now because I'm a savage. I don't know if this is considered fridge rules, but I think it's just mandatory that you don't eat other people's stuff, and you can probably relate to this deeper because you got like you were in a house with actual siblings.
Yeah,
Like whatever's designated for this one person,
yeah,
um,
don't touch
you
that.
don't eat it. But the person I am, I'm a savage, bro. If like, here's how I am. Like you can ask anybody. If you put your stuff in there and be like, you don't even gotta tell me that it's yours. It's yours. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna chill. Or you put some with some stuff you put in the refrigerator that you can go in and eat, like some leftovers from like Applebee's or something. Be like, all right, I'm gonna get to those. But it's been in the refrigerator for a whole day and you have not touched it. It's mine.
I wouldn't say a
Sorry.
whole day. I'd say a week.
You're
That's always
you're
right.
not, but yeah, like if there's something like my parents love Calypso, that Calypso juice that you get from the
Yeah.
store.
Oh yeah, that joint
And
hits.
I don't really mess with it like that. But if there's no drinks in the house and I've been looking at that Calypso all week, I'm drinking it. It's mandatory.
So
Like, and I
so
want to ask you this actually before you get into yours.
yeah.
And I didn't really grow up with like siblings directly in the house all the time, so
Yeah.
this will be interesting to know because I heard people say this growing up with like siblings in the house, right?
Yeah.
Is it disrespectful to make food just for you without like offering some to the whole family?
Um I think it all depends on what you're doing. So for the most, like me in my household, we never really made food for ourselves. There was never times where we had money and we bought food only for us. Like I remember days where like, you go to Little Caesars and get that $5 pizza. And I remember multiple times doing that.
Yeah,
And I'm not eating a whole pizza to myself. I'm in the sixth grade and I'm like 81 pounds. It's not like I eat that much. So, yeah, share it. It's just one of those things where like the only time people would have food to themselves is if like, there were days where I'd get home from school and somebody would have practice,
yeah.
and so they'd get something to eat on the way home and they wouldn't bring me none because we have food at home or something like
Mm.
that. With the person was just super hungry coming off practice and they did a good job or something. It was stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember it was never like this at my mom's house, but at my dad's house, there was a point where we had to ask to like go into the fridge, or if we go into the fridge without asking, they'd be like, "Well, what you in the fridge for?"
Yeah.
And that is something that every time I go there and I'm working on it, but I'm 18 in 2 years. So they don't care. They don't care what I need.
Open that fridge.
Yeah, they cool with me opening the fridge. But every single time I do it, I'm like, yeah, can I get something to drink? And they look at me like, nigga, if you don't just grab some, like, so
Right.
it's funny. I be feeling like they halfway get mad at me sometimes. It's just habit though.
Right.
After living there for like 4 years, just that is something that is
No.
like supreme habit for me, like asking before I get something there.
Right. It's
Yeah.
funny because it was a time like that when we lived in Maryland,
Mhm.
and you'd have to ask or be like, um, can I get this real quick? Can I get this?
Yeah.
I remember this one day, my cousin Sai, shout out my cousin Sai. He stayed with us for like the whole summer, and we went to like summer camp together or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I told you little stories about this too. I
Is
don't
that the
remember it
one
too
that
deep.
like the like dress for the time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you told me.
There's this one time where my dad was leaving. He left us home, and he was just like, "Yeah, do whatever you want." I'm like, "Huh? Like, what does that mean?" He was like, "Make whatever you want. You want to make the most preposterous sandwich you ever made in your life? Do it." And just left. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Huh?" So me, I go in there and make the craziest, like, unediblest sandwich possible.
Oh my God.
And from that day on, bro, I've just been doing that, but just, you know, I went a little crazy for that first day because it was the first day I could do it.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first notable time where it's like, get what you want type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like you got free range.
Yeah.
I remember like it got to the point where I think I eat my dad's leftovers like once or twice and he got real mad at me. So after that I'd see stuff and I just ask him after a
Yeah.
while. Because he is the type of person, I don't know if he still do this now. I haven't been over there in a while, but I know that when I was living there full time, he was the type of person to leave something in the microwave or not even in the fridge. He'd leave stuff in the microwave
Mhm.
and we just take it out, warm up what we warmed up, and then put it back in.
Yeah.
I don't know why we did that, but you know, or leave stuff in the fridge for like a long period of time, and after a while, I just be like, "Hey, like, can I eat this?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just a lot of stuff that's programmed. I don't think it was defined rules, but I can tell you, I couldn't have the refrigerator open for a long time. Like,
yeah,
close it. Like, what you got to open for so long for?
yeah. Like, know what you
Look,
can get out of
yeah. Look, get what you want and close it. Like, you couldn't have the refrigerator
it.
open, just gazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Nah,
that was a no.
definitely. You can never do that refrigerator double take. Not in my house, bro. You know when you look in the fridge and there's nothing you want in there, but you look again
Yeah,
anyway. Yeah, nah, that was never getting off.
yeah. And I think after I got high on that syrup that one time and peed in the refrigerator, it was a little my parents got a little traumatized.
I would
Um,
too.
I'm sorry if that sounded crazy on the podcast for people who don't know the story, but I think that's for another podcast. I don't want to get too deep
That's
into
for
that.
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have I told you that story?
Yes, yes, you have.
Okay. But yeah, it's funny. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my kids. I'm gonna just be like, give what you want. Don't OD though.
Yeah, I
Like,
have no idea. It's weird thinking about the way that we were raised and then the way that we should raise our kids. But that's a whole podcast topic in itself. That could be a whole hour conversation.
well,
So
it's crazy though.
I
I
want
was
to
just thinking
do
about
that.
this the other day.
What's up?
Just one last thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy because, people will be like, I raised my son and showed him how to be a good dad to somebody. But it's like, just thinking about it, like, parents don't teach you how to parent. they show you, and it's just like I feel like in that way we wing it when people become parents. Like people just wing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Because everybody's gonna be a different parent. Like,
Cause there's no class for it. There's no like defined like that's what you got to do now. Like nah, you just wing it.
yeah, no, I mean not to put your people's business out there, X, but I'm gonna just say this. You know, your dad grew up without a dad. He's a good dad.
Mm,
My dad did not have any type of relationship with his dad. He's a good dad. You know,
yeah,
so it's all about like it's just one of those things where everybody has their own way about going about things. I think a lot of parents have flawed methods, but that doesn't mean that they're bad parents.
yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, though, that's a whole nother topic.
Oh yeah, a whole nother.
Yeah, we're gonna do that one tomorrow because something I want to do is make the shift towards making podcasts about one thing, and then having all our like unfocused thoughts be compiled in other types of videos.
Yeah.
So yeah. And by the way, the reason we was going for so long is because I didn't have my stuff. Just,
And I didn't tell you this, and I guess this is not too private information to tell you, but I was planning on telling you privately. I was watching a podcast called Poor Minds Podcast, which I probably shouldn't be watching because it's basically a female podcast where they talk about female stuff and sexual relationships and stuff. But I listen because I find it funny.
yeah.
It was just telling me like, and I didn't need this because I hate asking for advice. But one of the fans wrote in and was like, I'm trying to start a podcast and what's the big goals to it? And they was just like consistency. And they was like, I was like, yeah, same old, same old. It was like, whatever you got to do to get content out or to get podcasts out, you got to do it. Like sometimes I had to do podcasts by myself or just talk. And I'm like, dang, like consistency.
Mm.
Like it just gave me a whole new perspective. Just get content out.
Yeah,
However you got to do it.
that makes sense, and I understand,
Yeah.
but I also think that depends on your certain goals with certain things.
Yeah,
That's why it's good that me and you have a partnership on this because I'm not the type to do that. If I feel like I got nothing that I want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about it.
right.
Because I treat this more like,
Yeah.
I guess a hobby or a passion. It's just something I like doing. So, I don't really care about being successful off of this or getting paid off of this. This is also a whole nother podcast topic.
Right.
Talking about why we do this now versus how we were before.
Yeah.
But you might be that way. You might actually care about the success or the looks we get. It's like it's a good balancing thing.
Yeah. And also, I don't want to, because although this is a very small podcast and it gets very like low views and stuff like that, there are people that watch every week. I think we fail to acknowledge that. Like when we post, there are views, and it's not us. Because I don't know if you click on our videos, but I don't. Yeah, so somebody is, whether they watch from 0 minute mark to 20-minute mark and just leave, or they watch the whole thing. Regardless, there are people watching. So to get something out for them who are truly invested in us, I think is dope. So. Yeah. For me personally, my apologies if you're waiting every Saturday for these podcasts. My apologies.
Well, it was more of me in my situation and also my pride. So I'm gonna apologize for this one.
Which we'll get it. I feel like we can get into that another episode too.
Definitely another time.
That's a whole other aspect about you.
We're gonna do the podcast tomorrow. I just have a feeling. So. If we're doing the parenting podcast, then we're definitely going to talk about it. Definitely.
Yeah, parenting podcasts are why we do this podcast and pride podcast.
Why we do this podcast. But yeah, other than that though, man, I have nothing else. I'm thirsty. I want a water bottle. I kind of want to go to sleep. So yeah, it's time to end it here. So any closing remarks, X?
Man, meditate, cry, do push-ups, listen to music, get your sleep, find something that you're good at or you're passionate about and do it.
Take steps to do things like eat healthier.
Yep, do it. pray if that's what you're into.
Yeah, live life with no
And
fear.
yeah, and don't give up on things that you're actually talented at. I'm sorry to just get so sentimental or get a deep message at the end, but yeah.
But it's something that we've both done. And while I don't regret giving up on things that I'm on the things that I've given up on, I understand that there could be a certain more defined path for me, quote unquote, if I didn't. If I would have stuck with football and stuff like that. So, I got you.
Well, we out. Eat your Wheaties.
And we eat, we stay indifferent.